everybody, Jason Bermas here for WeAreChange.org. And now that Donald Trump has publicly decried the expropriation of farmland belonging to white people in South Africa, the media has weighed in big time, mostly attacking Trump and trying to say that this is a non-issue and he's deflecting what's going on with Cohen and Manafort. Is that the case? What is the truth? We'll get to all that in just a moment, but I want to remind everybody we are supported by you guys. So if you can go to preparewithwearechange.com for only $75, you get a 2-week supply of great food. Now, we're not saying an emergency is coming, but it's great to take camping with you. It's nice to have if you are a prepper, if you want to be prepared for something like a hurricane, an earthquake, a storm, a power outage, and it helps us out as well. So go to preparewithwearechange.com and check out that deal. So let's begin by reading Trump's tweet. I have asked Secretary of State Pompeo to closely study the South Africa land and farm seizures and expropriations and the large-scale killing of farmers. South African government is now seizing land from white farmers. And then he tags Tucker Carlson and Fox News. Now, I want to start this by saying I think any type of government that is ethno-based, race-based is absolutely abhorrent. It's something that should not exist and is a way to keep humanity down. It's something that divides us and nothing good can ever come of it. Now, the current president of South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa, was actually an anti-apartheid activist in the 1980s, and now he is openly calling for the expropriations of these farms with no compensation whatsoever.
With no threat of protests and less security, this State of the Nation address was a departure from recent years where demonstrations had become routine. This was an opportunity for President Cyril Ramaphosa to outline the government's goals for the coming year and set the tone of the new administration. Ramaphosa reiterated his commitment to land expropriation without compensation, a policy that remains divisive.
Now, there is also land that is owned by individuals, as I said in my main answer. Some of it is held for speculative reasons. Some of it is just lying fallow. And we are saying our entities, our local governments must examine all that so that we can package pieces of land like that and then be able, on an informed basis, to determine how we should deal with land like that. Our people must be given that land, and indeed it is releasing the land, Honorable Malema. Releasing the land means that that land, as it is owned by our local entities, does not even need to be bought. And if you like, yes, it is a form of expropriation that will end up in the hands of our people.
However, we also have the leader of a rival party, the Economic Freedom Fighters, Malema, saying things like this.
And we have realized that the president does not have a plan. The president speaks about commissions, speaks about seminars, speaks about inquiries. He has got no plan.
We are not calling for the slaughtering of white people, at least for now. What we are calling for is for peaceful occupation of the land. And we don't owe anyone apology about that.
Now, the tweet, which has caused so much commotion in the mainstream media, was of course prompted by the Fox News story done by Tucker Carlson.
South Africa is a diverse country, but the South African government would like to make it much less diverse. An embattled minority of farmers, mostly Afrikaans-speaking, is being targeted in a wave of barbaric and horrifying murders. But instead of protecting them, the government just passed a law allowing it to seize their farms without any compensation based purely on their ethnicity and distribute those farms to more favored groups. Thousands have already migrated out of the country, but they've struggled to attract any sympathy abroad for some reason.
So you describe in this book a disorganized but in some sense intentional campaign to crush a racial minority within your country, and the government seems on board with it. Is that an overstatement?
Well, what the book is about is it's about government complicity in the scourge of farm attacks and farm murders that we've seen in South Africa. So we know in the last 2 decades there's been, according to government statistics, which we believe, we have reason to say that it's maybe downplayed a little, there's been about 2 farm attacks every day and 2 farm murders every week in South Africa. And in the book, I highlight actually 10 different reasons why we believe the South African government is complicit.
Now the government has announced that it plans to pursue a policy of taking land away from people on the basis of their skin color. Do you think they'll do that?
Well, that's what was adopted.
The mainstream media then began attacking Trump, attacking Carlson.
South Africa is currently considering a plan to allow land seizures without compensation as a way to address old apartheid policies. And statistics show that violence against South African farmers is actually drastically decreasing. Per the South African Mail and Guardian, this is all part of a racist conspiracy theory that has long been a rallying cry among white nationalists, and the roots of it can be traced back to an extremist, far right-wing group who describes itself as preparing for a coming violent race revolution to prevent a, quote, white genocide.
And making outrageous statements that were clearly untrue and race baiting.
So he divides our country, and now he's working on others. Eddie Glaude and then Sam. Jump in. Eddie, you first.
Well, this is consistent. Look, the only words we get out of Donald Trump's mouth about predominantly African countries or African-descended countries is that they're S-hole countries. Or in this instance, he's really trafficking in conspiracy theories to kind of, in some ways, feed red meat to his base. This is nonsense. It's silly. But it's consistent with the kind of cultural warrior that he is. Because at the same time that he's doing this with regards to South African white farmers, I think 2 of them perhaps might have been killed in some instance.
I was at the campus and I got a phone call saying my aunt is coming to pick me up. And I said, okay, it's fine, you can come and pick me up, I'm waiting, and they just want to take me somewhere and everything. And then I started getting Facebook messages and WhatsApp messages telling me that from different people that how sorry they are to hear about everything that happened. And so I started to panic, and I called my aunt back, and she told me just my 2 grandparents are murdered. And so I came here, and when I got here, they told me my parents as well.
According to police figures, 71 people were murdered on South African farms in the year to March 2017. But farmers say that figure doesn't reflect the full extent of the violence.
The one bullet went through here, went through there, through the chair into the wall there.
In February, armed robbers stormed this farmhouse and opened fire. Estelle Nieuwenhuizen's partner was shot repeatedly at close range.
I was shot 2 times there, one here, and the other one went in here. And it went out of the back of my neck.
The attackers tried to take one final shot at Bermas Henrico's head, but the rifle jammed.
Unfortunately, it seems like apartheid is making a comeback. And speaking of apartheid, I want to say, although I applaud Trump for speaking out on what's going on in South Africa, the situation in Israel and Palestine is just as bad, if not worse, and the president's reaction has been the complete opposite. Trump has essentially given Israel everything they have asked for during his presidency. He's even given Jerusalem as the state capital.
So said the Lord, I will return to Zion, and I will dwell in the midst of Jerusalem, and Jerusalem shall be called the city of truth. May the opening of this embassy in this city spread the truth far and wide, and may the truth advance a lasting peace between Israel and all our neighbors. God bless the United States of America, and God bless Jerusalem, the eternal, undivided capital of Israel.
While Palestinian protesters were slaughtered and nothing was done or said.
I want to say something else. I hear a lot of claims, like you just mentioned, that the Trump administration has been very supportive of Israel, which is true.
Many people are unfamiliar that former President Jimmy Carter wrote a book called Palestine, Peace, Not Apartheid, and went on a tour with that book. In it, he clearly lays out a plan for a peaceful two-state solution.
One of the most notable cases was with the Oslo Agreement in 1993. And I think it was very clear benefit to Israel potentially that the 2002 unanimous vote by the Arab countries, all 23 Arab countries in the world, agreed unanimously to recognize Israel and Israel's right to live in peace within its international borders. And the Palestinians are horribly treated, and their treatment is not known at all, or minimally, in this country.
Carter certainly was far from a perfect president, but at his heart, he truly was a man of peace, as I think was shown by bringing Israel and Egypt together during the Camp David Accords after 30 years of hostilities with one another.
I felt as a president that we were allies with Israel and that Israel's security was vital to me. However, I spent 13 days at Camp David and then another 6 months with Egypt negotiating with Menachem Begin, who was a very conservative Likud leader, as you know, and Begin himself agreed and signed officially a document that called for Israel to grant the Palestinians full autonomy, that is, control over their own affairs, and also agreed to withdraw both military and political forces from the occupied territories, from the West Bank and Gaza.
The Camp David Conference should be renamed. It was the Jimmy Carter Conference.
What did Jimmy Carter get for his efforts of trying to bring peace almost 11 years ago through this publication? Well, he was often attacked or ignored in the mainstream media.
And I've been hurt, and so has my family, by some of the reaction. You know, I've been through political campaigns for state senate and for governor and for president, and I've been stigmatized and condemned by my political opponents and their supporters. But this is the first time that I've ever been called a liar and a bigot and an anti-Semite and a coward.
The bottom line is, we should not be holding people accountable for the transgressions of their ancestors, especially when it's race-based. We need to be coming together. And any kind of policy that is pro-apartheid, in my opinion, whether it be in South Africa or in Israel and Palestine, is dangerous, repugnant, and needs to stop. As always, if you like this video, hit that like button, share it on social media, follow me on Twitter @JasonBermas, and folks, be the change you want to see in the world.